Good afternoon, my name is Kip Jackson. I have lived with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease for 4 years now. ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. According to the ALS Association, it is a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and the spinal cord. Motor neurons reach from the brain to the spinal cord and from the spinal cord to the muscles throughout the body. The progressive degeneration of the motor neurons in ALS eventually leads to their death. As motor neurons degenerate, they can no longer send impulses to the muscle fibers that normally result in muscle movement. Early symptoms of ALS often include increasing muscle weakness, especially involving the arms and legs, speech, swallowing or breathing. When the breathing muscles are attacked, this results in the patient's inability to breathe on their own. If a ventilator is not used, the patient will die of respiratory failure. ALS is terminal. There are no survivors. Fasciculations, or uncontrolled muscle twitching, are also a big part of ALS. Every victim experiences this phenomenon. In fact, the first symptom which presented itself was severe twitching in my left index finger. I thought I was cool, I thought I was special. It was the perfect conversation piece at parties. Well, I'm glad you're doing well in the stock market and your 401k is at an all-time high. You must be very proud. But, hey, looky here, can your finger do this? No, don't pull it, just watch. Oohs and ahs from the crowd. Everybody looks at each other amazed. Then they finally break down into a glorious round of applause. Little did I know what this simple tremor in my finger would lead to. I did have a premonition that something might be wrong. When I received a concussion after I experienced several falls, I knew a serious problem existed. So, began a long, tedious road to a diagnosis. No test exists for ALS. Consequently, the journey, then, becomes a process of elimination. Are there any tumor, lesions, or abnormalities in the brain? No. Is there any delay in the speed of the signals your motor neurons are sending to the muscles and nerves? Yes. Are there any irregularities in your spinal fluid? No. Could you have any heavy metal present which could result in neurotoxins attacking your brain? No. Are you experiencing fasciculations in your muscles? Yes. The doctor comes into the room and says, Mr. Jackson, there's a strong possibility it is ALS. You have 3 to 5 years to live. The doc looks at me searching for a reaction. I'm thinking, seriously? Is that it? You have nothing more to say? Doc, you could have at least offered me a stick of juicy fruit or even a breath mint, a Tic Tac, perhaps? It was not to be. Instead, the doc gave me a bunch of pamphlets about ALS, as if to say, good luck with that, Mr. Jackson. Gee, thanks, Doc. I believe doctors need to improve the relationships with their patients, and one way of doing is to offer the patient a voucher for 1 free chocolate pudding from the hospital cafeteria upon receiving a diagnosis of a terminal disease. Whipped cream will cost you extra, so, they say there is a strong possibility that I have ALS. Remember, there's no bullseye test for this disease. The neurologist's educated guess has proved correct. As your muscles continue to waste away, you become paralyzed, and you lose the ability to breathe on your own. Actually, the only way a diagnosis of ALS can be confirmed is through an autopsy. Every victim goes through a series of tests that can take months to complete. It took 8 months to diagnose me. Today, I live as a quadriplegic, I'm tube-fed, I have a trach, and I am ventilator dependent. For the most part, The disease is stabilized within me. There is not much else to lose as far as my voluntary muscles are concerned. I view myself as a quadriplegic who is vent-dependent more than a person who lives with ALS. Let's analyze the last part of the previous sentence, lives with ALS. I used to say just after I received my diagnosis that I have ALS. Being an avid reader and writer coupled with a slight obsessive-compulsive disorder, I saw the difference in the meaning of these two words and what the usage implies. For instance, if I were to say, I have ALS, I hate this sentence. To me, it means I have surrendered to the disease, that I have rendered myself dormant as the disease consumes all of me both mentally and physically. A lot of people with ALS have let this happen. Depression is a big problem. I can understand being depressed for the first or even the second month after the diagnosis. I was even depressed for a month after my fateful visit to the neurologist. But you still have a life to live, in my opinion. Focus on what you can do, not what you can't do. You can see this type of thinking in ALS videos plastered all over the internet, specifically on YouTube. All videos play this hideous, sappy background music filled with sorrow and despair. They begin with a definition of what ALS is, or they tell us a little bit about the doomed victim, their age, their first symptoms, their date of diagnosis, etc., etc. Next, the video will digress into a conversation about dealing with the disease. Oh, the horror. Oh, the agony. Oh, the misery I must deal with every day. This part is accompanied by somber interviews with caregivers and family members, usually in tears, discussing how hard it is to see the patient wither away and die. Some videos will go no further. But, if they really want to scare you, they'll include more footage of their ultimate demise. You will see pictures of the emaciated patient staring into the camera through hollow, lifeless eyes. What is the purpose of this video method? My guess is that they want to frighten you into donating to find a cure for ALS. I think they are no different than the pound puppy videos you see on TV. I will never participate in the making of a pound puppy video. I see posts from people that have ALS all the time on Facebook and various ALS blogs. The posts talk about their suffering and new symptoms that have popped up. More extreme ones will discuss whether they should extend their life with a feeding tube, by using a vent for non-invasive ventilation, or getting trached. Still, the most gut-wrenching ones deal with the decision to turn off all life support and suicide. Depressing, indeed. Common sense suggests that I should rid myself of this negativity so it may not affect my mind. Of course, this argument is perfectly valid. But, I propose that exposing myself to this melancholy viewpoint only serves to heighten my sense of self and inspire me to achieve my dreams while living with ALS. That's right. I live with ALS. Now, compared to the passive sentence, I have ALS, this sentence's power. I live with ALS indicates an active stance. The disease very rarely affects the mind. I believe having this disease will magnify the strengths and weaknesses of your personality. Therefore, if you were a butthead in your pre-ALS life, there is a strong possibility that you will be the same, if not more of a butthead after diagnosis. In my case, I have always been a fighter. Actually, I grew up as a stubborn, salty bastard who refused to give in to the social norm. Okay, Doc. You tell me I only have 2 to 5 years to live. Screw you, I'll show you a little something about the human spirit. Oh, you say my quality of life will deteriorate if I get a trach? Screw you twice. Sit back and watch me live a fulfilling life. Maybe you'll learn a little something about what it means to truly live. I choose to live every day to its fullest. I choose to be positive. I choose to not give up. I choose to live. I look forward to waking up each and every day. I can't wait to be transferred to my wheelchair and sit in front of my computer to start my day. You can't see it because on the outside, I am motionless, a breathing statue. There are no signs of life except for the occasional yawn, the ever-present smile on my face, and the moment of recognition when my eyes fall onto yours. Yet, inside this head of mine, it is chaos. Untamed thoughts run wild through my mind, like, who would I hunt first when I finally do go to the other side? Why does my dad insist on wearing that hideous comb-over? What makes frosted Lucky Charms so magically delicious? And, does this respiratory therapist who is trying to talk to me realize she has a gigantic bat in the cave? Can somebody please get her a Kleenex? Seriously, my head is bursting with creative ideas. This is why I look forward to working at my computer. I can't wait to see what I'm going to come up with next, a new song, an idea for a new video, or a new short story concept that is begging to be explored. I compose my own music with my eyes. I do everything with my eyes. I use eye gaze technology made from a company called Tobii, headquartered in Sweden. Yes, the same people who brought you such entities like ABBA, IKEA, ultra-cool names such as Bjorn and Sven, and one mighty tasty meatball. Hey, don't laugh, you know you're rocking the Dancing Queen on your iPhone. This company has restored a higher morale and a welcome sense of individuality to thousands of quadriplegics around the world. This technology is invaluable to my wife. It keeps me occupied and out of her hair. Without it, I would drive her absolutely crazy. My Tobii allows me to do a bunch of cool stuff. As I mentioned, I love to make music. Never thought I would ever write a song. The computer program I write with is the perfect outlet for my creativity. The program has virtual synthesizers and drum machines. Oh my! This is right up my alley as it allows me to tinker with the different settings to come up with new and amazing sounds and beats. If you knew how much I adore music, you would then see how immersing myself in music is as close to heaven on earth as I can get. I have made 2 videos so far, one for the ALS Association of Arkansas, and one for my song on iTunes. They are both out there on YouTube for your viewing pleasure. Don't be afraid to look them up and have a looky-see. My purpose for doing these videos is to provide an uplifting alternative to the onslaught of ALS, pound puppy videos on the net.